Good morning or good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure for me and my colleagues to be able to share our experiences with you on how we're managing E&P data here on the Norwegian continental shelf. My name, as it was said, is Erik Toogood. I'm the manager of the Diskos joint venture, the Norwegian NDR, or National Data Repository, and I work here at the Norwegian Petroleum Directorate, or the NPD. And I'll be presenting with my colleagues, Elin, who works with me in Diskos management. She's also here in the NPD, and Karen Blohm from CDG, and CDG is the current operator of the Diskos database. So I don't know if you want to say a few words about yourselves, Elin and Karen, before we move on.
No, I think you said everything. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in our presentation, we'll be looking at the main elements of the National Data Repository for E&P data. We'll look at some facts and figures relating to the NDR, and in addition, describe ongoing initiatives in digitization regarding petroleum data here in Norway. So this database, Diskos, is an outsourced solution. It's being managed by CDG through a contract that was awarded by the Norwegian Petroleum Directorate at the end of 2013. And we are currently retendering this contract. There's a legal requirement to do so, as the NPD is a government organization bound by Norwegian public procurement legislation. So we'll be coming back to the plans we have for Diskos 2.0, the next contract, and providing some high-level information regarding that procurement, so which we hope will be of interest to you. So the next one, please, Karen. Next slide. So just before we sort of kick off, it's just to give you a little bit of information, show you where we are in the world. We're situated in Norway, and Elin and myself are at the Norwegian Petroleum Directorate in Stavanger, which is in the far west of Norway. And we have the capital in also where the ministry is situated. We have over 80 producing fields in Norway and 19 field developments and just under 4 billion standard cubic meters of oil equivalents of remaining resources. So there's still quite a lot of work to be done in Norway in maximizing the resource and producing our hydrocarbons for the market. Next one then, please, Karen. So just a little bit about the Norwegian Petroleum Directorate. We are, as I say, a government organization, a regulator. We were established in 1972, and we're subordinate to the Ministry of Petroleum Energy, who is situated in the east of Norway in Oslo. And we have just over 220 employees. And our main mission is that we should strive to create the greatest possible value for the Norwegian society from oil and gas activities. And some of the key words there are value creation, long-term perspective, and cooperation. Next. So if we just see this slide, we can see that we're advising the Ministry of Oil and Energy, but we're also following up and promoting and getting an overview of facts and data in collaboration with the industry. And in fact, most of the data that we're managing in our system is actually collected by the industry themselves, not only by the NPD. We have a responsibility to share data and information and facts with the industry and with the Norwegian public in general, and also to countries outside of Norway. And we're coordinating with other government agencies. And I think that will do so far, and we can hand over to Karen now, who will give us a little bit of information about CDG.
Thanks, Erik. Yes, just as has been mentioned, who is CDG? Hopefully a number of you may have come across us. We are a geoscience service organization. In summary, as you can see, we are underpinned by our expertise in terms of our people, data, or technology. We are here to help our clients maximize those opportunities through discovery and development of natural resources. So underpinning that is a combination of leading technologies, data, and equipment. That's who we are.
Okay, so then that's back to me again, and I think you can just move on to the next one, Karen. Just a brief introduction to the actual concept Diskos, which was is being run by the Norwegian Petroleum Directorate through the contract that we hold. But as I say, CGG is actually operating the Diskos database. So the MPD is a legal entity here and coordinating the activities with our service provider CGG, and we have a company called Cadme operating a trade module, and on behalf of the Diskos members who are oil companies active here in Norway. So the database was set up in 1995, so we've been going for quite some time now, and the focus is to store and manage seismic data, well data, and monthly production data. And we've set up a system where the data is it can be proprietary data belonging to one or more companies, and all of this is controlled in a very secure manner through entitlements management, going all the way down for seismic data to a shot point level, and for wells at for wellbore level, and even down to particular items such as reports, etc. We're managing monthly allocated production data as well in the database, and all of this is based on a self-service operation operating 24/7. There's quite a lot of data trading in Norway, so if you can just move on to the next slide, Karen. And so basically, the Norwegian oil and gas industry has had a long tradition in trading data, and previously this was done by physically exchanging data. That you could exchange data from one wellbore with another license, and this was done by exchanging physical data. This is now all done digitally and managed through a module in the Diskos database. This is not managed by the MPD, but by the Oil and Gas Association of Norway. And that's over to you, Karen.
Thank you. So just sharing in terms of how we're organised for the current phase of Diskos operations. So as Eric has said, we are acting as the current database operator for the well, seismic, and monthly production reporting. This is how we're organised in terms of our responsibility, and we are responsible for the service delivery in its totality. But we do work together with two other organisations who are providing some aspects of service, as shown on the slide. There is areas of commonality because of the operation of the fourth module that makes up Diskos, which is the trade module. And that is delivered in terms of technology capability from Cadme as well. And we are utilising the same IT infrastructure environment across all four modules. As Eric mentioned on the previous slide, a very important aspect of the service that is required for Diskos is around information security. And what that also entails is that ability to have both primary, secondary data recovery, disaster recovery operations as well. It's a very dynamic operation that we support. So I just want to share with you just a couple of informatics that we have. But first and foremost, the awareness of the membership. It is a very dynamic environment that we work in. So we have different types of members who are using the system. We have our oil and gas operating companies. We have our service companies, and we have also a number of university and not-for-profit organisations. There's different member tiers, as shown on the table at the top. And you'll notice in terms of the university and academic institutions, they're not all based in Norway. We actually have a number of members who have approached Diskos management to become members from overseas as well. In terms of activity levels, so these two illustrations in terms of how the seismic is looking and then how the well data is looking, you can see we're actually managing quite a sizable collection of data. So something in the order of over 57, coming up to 58,000 data sets of seismic data, whether that is 2D, 3D, 4D surveys. Significant volume of lossy data. We're seeing annual growth. Some years it's been as much as 2 petabytes, but routinely over the last 5 years of operation, it's been around 1.6 petabytes of growth. We're nudging now closer to around about 10 petabytes of seismic data in terms of total volume. And then the little illustration on the right-hand side at the bottom, giving an indication of how active the area is, sort of an average of monthly activity. You can see the number of orders, something to the tune of over 400 orders, and accessing data to the tune of about 120 terabytes. Overwhelmingly, about 90, 95, 96% of those orders are actually self-service, what we call self-service orders. So the system is there to support our members gaining access to the data through the technologies that we've stood up. When we look at the well data, whilst we are dealing, shall we say, with a smaller volume when we talk about petabytes or terabytes of data, this is a significant collection of information, and as you can see, we're dealing with, we're nearing on about 8,000 well bores and close to 1 million documents and logs. And this was a snapshot as of end of 2019, but on the next slide, you'll see there's been some further significant growth. And again, self-service capability in terms of people gaining access to data, and that is done either through the interface or through a supported API, which I'll make reference to. So what does it mean in terms of the operations? Eric mentioned that Diskos was launched as far back as 1995. So here's a couple of illustrations to show how the growth has taken off. We effectively became database operator in 2014, and you can see a significant growth pattern in terms of volumes of data. That in part is as a change to reporting requirements, but you can see we're dealing with significant volumes, petabytes when we're dealing with seismic data, and terabytes when we're dealing with wellbore data. As Elin will be talking in a couple of slides' time, there have been a number of initiatives that are sort of well and wellbore centric, and we're seeing some significant growth of the volumes of data that we're dealing with when it comes to wells and wellbores. So it's a very dynamic environment that we're supporting. I mentioned the fact that part of members' experience of using Diskos is their ability to have access to an API. This allows them to configure and design some of their own behaviors in their own in-house systems, and so they can actually perform searches and interrogations from within their own systems via the API. So I think, Elin?
Yes. So I'll tell you a little bit about our recent and ongoing project in Diskos. Last year we did a big project related to core photos from wellbores older than year 2000, where we digitized over 30,000 core photos from over 1,000 wellbores, most of them exploration wellbores. So the core photos were digitized using old negatives stored at Stratum. Stratum is the vendor that most oil companies in Norway use for storing core samples, etc. So the negatives were scanned in a really high resolution and then uploaded to the Diskos database, and they are all publicly available. And the project was finished in February this year. Next slide, Karen. Another big project that started last year is what we call the Digital Cuttings Project. This is not the Diskos funded project, but a project led by the Norwegian Oil and Gas Association. And it's being financed by a group of oil companies in Norway. The intention of the project is to digitize cutting materials from all exploration wellbores ever drilled on the Norwegian continental shelf.
Excuse me, Elin. You have 5 more minutes before question sessions. Thank you.
Oh, okay, then we have to go really fast. Okay, because Eric also has to say a few words. Okay, so it's a really big project where the deliveries are high-resolution cuttings photos and also various analysis, mineral analysis done. And all the data will be downloaded to Diskos, and it will be publicly available 2 years after the project has ended. As Karen mentioned, this will increase the volumes of data a lot in the well module in Diskos. Okay, can go really fast then. Next slide. This is a legacy data project we have at the MPD. This is a project in 2 parts, where the first part is we do a scanning project using legacy reports from ExxonMobil and Aker BP's partner archive. This is exploration wellbores more than 20 years. And we hopefully will be able to scan reports from approximately 400 wellbores before we finish the project in December this year. The other part of the project is to create digital files from check shots, deviation surveys, conventional core analysis, this is data that often just exists in tables and legacy reports, and it's very difficult to transfer to, for example, interpretation systems. In worst case, the user must punch the data manually. So the intention of the project is to get quality control data into a format that can easily be loaded into various software platforms. Okay, that was really fast, so I hand over the word to Eric again.
Yeah, this is just a project to show that we have a work group with different companies engaged in looking at new standard for reporting petrophysical interpretation in digital formats. I don't think I'll go into more detail, but there's information on the slide there for you to produce later. Next slide, please. We have a project, the MPD is working with the UK regulator, the Oil and Gas Authority in the UK. And basically this project here, which we won't go into any detail, but it is to prepare and condition data for use in artificial intelligence and machine learning. And it highlights all the challenges that you'll need to address in getting legacy data to be put into formats that can be utilized for new techniques and analyses. So we'll skip on to the final part of the presentation, and this information will of course be provided to you in the handouts after the event. And the condition data from Norway that will be loaded into our Diskos database for use by us. So finally, looking just ahead into Diskos 2.0 and looking at the high-level plans we have. Next, we will award a contract at the end of this year, and we will spend next year implementing the new solution, and that will be ready for go live in early 2022. So next year is development, customization of software, transferring metadata, including entitlements, making sure that all of the bulk data is transferred correctly, and then, of course, user acceptance testing and so on. Next slide. So basically, the main focus of Diskos is the bulk storage of the data with the metadata layer, including all the entitlements, and the front end to this solution will be through open documented APIs. Typically, Diskos users download data to work on that data locally. In the new system, in the yellow box, we're providing a platform for interpretation next to the data, so you won't have to move the data around so much. You could have processing capability and, of course, the ability to do data analytics as well. And the green box down in the right-hand corner is the trade module, which will change the entitlements to data based on data trading by the industry. Next slide, please. So the main overarching principles for Diskos 2.0 is we need scalability, flexibility, and be able to adapt to new volumes and usage peaks. We want, as I say, an open API. We want to be able to have a Diskos architecture that's open and non-proprietary, but we want also to be able to encompass OSDU. And I understand there's a session on OSDU later in this conference. So, and we want innovation throughout the contract period and to be able to do interpretation, processing, and data analytics in the new solution. Last slide. So, as I say, OSDU, we think this has a lot of promise. There's still a lot of work to be done. This is work in progress. We want to ensure that we can get our data correctly and streamlined, quality controlled, whether it be seismic data, production data, or well data into this solution. So we're following this very closely with a number of organizations. So that's all for now, and I guess we're open for questions.
Thank you very much, Eric, Elin, and Karen. So we are starting now with the questions. Pasaremos ahora al espacio de preguntas. Por favor, Ana.
Yes, we have some questions for you. First of all, congratulations. It was a very, very good presentation. And the first question, do you also manage the samples, core, coatings, and how do you do that?
Do you want to answer, Elin, or should I?
You can answer.
Yeah, the question was management of physical samples, I understood?
Yes, physical samples.
Yeah, the Norwegian Petroleum Directorate has a big core store, so we're managing cores from all exploration wells, and there's a significant selection of, or representative selection of production wells. We only have a quarter of the cores for, quarter section of the cores for exploration wells. No, sorry, yeah, for exploration wells, and we have half of the core for production wells. The industry, they also store core, the remaining core samples in their own solutions as well, or with a third-party provider.
Okay, good, thank you. Second question, what is your opinion about public or private cloud? And also, what are the technical issues that you recommend to have in mind for an implementation like the one you have?
Well, I think one of the big challenges you can't give straight answers to public versus private or hybrid cloud. We spent an extreme lot of time looking at this, and what we have said to our in the contract is that the industry should come back to us with solutions, and we have tenders now offering different options for us, and we will, as long as we can get our data and do the things that we want the system to do, i.e. to be able to work with the data where the data is stored, to allow us to do processing on the fly and to do machine learning or artificial intelligence, then that is up to the service provider to persuade us that their solution is the best one, whether that be purely public cloud offering or maybe a hybrid one or private cloud.
Okay. And there any issues that you have recommend to have in mind prior?
I think one of the challenges with public cloud is that this is very new. We have one or two, depending how you define it, public cloud vendors in Norway at the moment. One issue is that Norwegian legislation states that we must retain a copy of the data in Norway, even though you could have a solution based in Europe in a public cloud environment. The other, I think, has been relating to the cost element of how public cloud services are provided and how we can manage those cost issues, because Diskos is the cost of the business model for Diskos is a shared solution. All of our members are joining together with including the MPD to share the costs between us, and we need to make sure we're getting, we know what our costs will be and how we can adequately divide those costs between all of the members working in the Diskos community.
Thank you very much. We are running out of time. Just a quick question, and is there a limited data available for a single user, or what is the procedure to subscribe?
No, I think currently there's no limit on the data you can download. If you're an oil company member, you pay for the data you download. If we're talking about seismic data, well data is currently without cost because if you remember, then you get hold of all the data through a subscription service.
Okay. Well, thank you.
We have universities that get free access to data for academic use, but they have a certain limit for the amount of data they can download.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.